Gentlemen, let me begin with a hard and comfortable truth. We are living in a global simp economy. And this is an economic, psychological, and sexual marketplace where men are no longer hunters, but they are customers, consumers, and buyers of validation. Remember, men used to be hunters, leaders, and selectors. But the global simp economy has reduced them into customers, their consumers, and their buyers of validation. So we want to look at the marketplace where men sell their souls for validation. So, gentlemen, every like, every DM, every digital heart, every OnlyFans subscription, every emotional bailout that is disguised as being supportive is part of an invisible system where women are the supply, men are the demand, and attention is the currency. A man once paid with competence now pays with compliance. And this is not accidental, gentlemen. This is structural. For the first time in human history, the average woman commands more male attention than Cleopatra. She carries a digital harem, and that's a pocket-sized kingdom fed by men whose self-worth has been eroded by a gynocentric culture that teaches men to kneel before women they have not earned. And that brings us to the masterclass. How did you get here, gentlemen? Why are men losing? How do sovereign men break this system? So let's go deeper. I remember last week, 2 weeks ago, there was a case of a woman who bought a car she could not afford. She took a loan. And when the car was repossessed, she went online and asked people to help her to pay for the car. So instead of people telling her to live within her means, people contributed for her hundreds of thousands of shillings, more than $1 million actually. And she paid off the debt that was required and she got her car back. Most of the people who raised this money were men. So how did you get here? That's what we need to look at now. So we are going to look at the gynocentric inversion of power. Now, as an opening, we have to note that modern Western society, they have programmed men to serve, idolize, and emotionally pedestalize women, an inversion of natural dynamics that erodes masculine authority and fosters disrespect. Contrary to the cultural illusions that are pushed by mainstream media, women do not respect men by default. And as David Bass argues in Evolution of Desire, respect is reserved for men who command it, not for men who beg for it. So this programming has produced a generation of nice guys who mistakenly they believe that love is earned through obedience and self-erasure. It is not kindness that repels women. It is neediness. It is over-availability and the scent of a man who has abandoned his mission in pursuit of approval. So we're going to look at hypergamy in the digital age and why respect has eroded. Gentlemen, if you're enjoying this video, take a quick moment to like, subscribe, and share. When you subscribe, You'll always get notified when I drop new content. And when you like and share, you help this channel to grow. And more importantly, you help other men to discover the tools that they need to level up. Remember, when one man rises, we all rise. Now let's get back to the video. So, for those who are uninitiated, hypergamy is women's evolutionary tendency to seek higher status mates. Okay? It is not speculative. It is measurable and it has been established. And recent statistics from Pew Research of 2022, they show that majority of women, they refuse to date a man who earns less than they do, while 86% of men have no problem dating down, socially or economically. Roy Baumeister in 2020 discovered this pattern, and he established through a research that was cross-cultural research across several cultures. He confirmed that female selection tends upward, while men's trends widen outward. Widen outward, trend upward. Okay? So men's trends widened outward. Now, add the digital layer. Now we are talking about dating apps, Instagram, TikTok, and OnlyFans. A woman's phone is a digital harem filled with men competing for scraps of attention. In Unplugged 5, we note that what is abundant loses value. And just as inflated currency loses purchasing power, so does male attention when it flows indiscriminately. And that's why I tell guys, you need to guard your non-sexual attention. Liking the thirst traps of women who don't know you reduces your value, and it reduces the value of men collectively. So in this new market, the simp economy revolves around one thing: men giving away attention for free, and women selling validation at scale. They're able to scale the ability to sell validation using these online apps, dating apps, and otherwise. So let's look at the simp delusion and why men become consumers of validation. So simping is not affection. It is strategic failure. Digital market studies show that the average simp spends $437 a month on parasocial female attention. This is according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics 2024. And in exchange, this man receives, or rather this average simp, he receives emojis, he receives half-hearted replies, he receives polite indifference, and he receives emotional breadcrumbs. So to a woman, the simp is not a sweeter or a sitter. The simp is proof. He's a metric of a desirability. He's basically a number on an internal status ledger. Dalian Wilson in 1999 explained that women are attracted to status cues, not kindness coupons. Okay? So if you are a man who has no status, and that's why I tell guys, never become average. You must be known for something. If you are a man who has no status, your kindness is meaningless to a woman. She'll chew you and spit you out. She will take your money, but she'll never remember you or your name. So in the simp economy, men buy fantasy and women accrue real value. Remember that. Let's look at how scarcity interacts with absence and erotic respect. So, as we've noted earlier, you know that you cannot negotiate desire. And you cannot plead for respect. And what's the antidote for this? The antidote for this is scarcity. The antidote is absence. And the antidote is value creation. Robert Glover tells us in No More Mr. Nice Guy that this is breaking of the covert contract. The delusion that niceness earns love. Many men are operating under what is called a covert contract. They think that if you're nice, a woman will love you. There's nowhere women signed that if you're nice to them, they will love you. So this is a delusion. Throw away that covert contract. You cannot negotiate for desire. Okay? Observe scarcity, become absent, develop value. In Mating in Captivity, Esther Perel goes further, and she tells us that erotic energy is born not from closeness, but from distance. Okay? She says that respect is not affection. Respect is reserved for predators who may live. And so when a man invests in muscle, wealth, mission, network, and skills, which is competence, excellence, then he becomes scarce by design. His presence becomes valuable, and his absence becomes terrifying. The fear of loss, that's where respect is born. The more available you are, the more likely it is that you are not valuable. So become scarce. Make yourself busy building wealth, building muscle, building competence, building your network, and chasing your mission. That is how you deal with the simp economy. Let's look at ego and boundaries and the architecture of male value. Women test boundaries not out of malice or malice, but instinct. Each test is an evolutionary probe into the question, is this man strong enough to lead me? Appeasement signals weakness. Weakness invites escalation. And Robert Greene reminds us in The Art of Seduction that power is maintained through contrast. You do not inspire females or feminine softness by pandering to them. You inspire it by demonstrating that your presence is conditional. Breaking our ego is not cruelty, it is calibration. There is a sovereignty of the queen that is perpetuated on the internet. Let's look at the false sovereignty of the queen. Instagram created the self-anointed queen, a woman who expects loyalty, validation, emotional labor, and provision for simply existing. Men who worship this illusion become human furniture. They become emotional servitors, and they become replaceable utilities. A sovereign man does not bow to a marketplace fantasy. A sovereign man builds a mission. He builds a world. He builds a kingdom. He builds structure, and he builds a legacy. And he only admits the only women who bring feminine, cooperative, nurturing value. The woman who feels the floor drop when she walks away discovers submission as a survival reflex. So let's look at the male strategy that we need. How do you move from simp to sovereign? So here is the path. The first thing you have to do is you need to withdraw unearned attention. Stop feeding the economy. Stop feeding the simp economy. The second thing you need to do is you need to make your time expensive. Your presence needs to be costly and your absence should be felt. The third thing you have to do is you need to assert boundaries early and consistently. And you need to stop over-explaining yourself. Stop negotiating with the disrespect. Walk. If you get disrespect, just walk. Don't talk about it. Don't discuss it. You don't need to understand it. Then you also need to chase excellence. Not women. Chase excellence. Women follow excellence. I normally say that men value love, but women love value. And you can never lose money chasing women. Okay, you can never lose women chasing money, but you can lose money chasing women. So prioritize accordingly. Engineer your value instead of moralizing female nature. Also, only choose women who are respectful, feminine, and cooperative. Submission is not oppression. It is a natural reflex of a woman in the presence of a man who cannot be bought, swayed, or threatened with abandonment. So, gentlemen, what are the lessons we learn from this simp economy? The first one is that the market, it rewards value, not virtue. Nice doesn't win. Strong does. Nobody cares how kind or generous you are. Only the value you bring matters. Only your strength and the boundaries you enforce matter. The second thing you have to learn is that attention is currency. Your non-sexual attention is not useless. Okay? Don't inflate attention. Scarcity is power. The third thing is that women follow men who can walk away. Don't be too available. Don't show desperation. Don't operate from scarcity. Leverage is respect. The fourth thing is that the simp economy thrives on male loneliness. So you need to build a brotherhood. If you've read Unplugged, get in touch with me so that I add you into the group of Unplugged men. So build a brotherhood, build a mission. Build yourself. Okay? The fifth thing is that sovereignty is the antidote. You must become a sovereign man. And a sovereign man is not a participant in the simp economy. He is the architect of his own world. So, gentlemen, tell me in the comment section below, what lesson from this masterclass have you learned and which one hit you the hardest? How will you implement it starting today? Your future self is actually watching you right now. Your legacy depends on your next decision. So get unplugged, and I'll see you on the next one.